Okay, the fourth key element that I'm looking at to really help get the rust out of my golf swing is having the club properly set on my backswing. So we've had a nice job looking at our grip, our posture, and certainly our takeaway. This next one is incredibly important. Once we have the takeaway, it's now looking at making sure that the club is set properly in order to load the backswing for the most power that we can get out of it. So there's really two things that I look at in the club set position every spring, of course, that I'm really rusty at, and I think it might help you as well. The first one is once you've done your takeaway and you've gotten the club back, I usually stop with the club parallel to the ground. And at this position, I really want to make sure that my club is rotating properly. For me, that position when that club is parallel to the ground is that the club face, in this case an 8-iron, is pointing straight up to the sky, okay? I should be able to now rotate my body 90 degrees, put the club back down, and be completely perpendicular to my initial target. So again, we'll get over the ball, we'll move our club back, and when the club is parallel to the ground, again, see that club face? It should be pointed straight up to the sky. For me, I tend not to rotate my club very much on the way back in the spring. So here gives me a nice chance to be able to check to make sure that my club is opening up and that my alignment is proper to the target. So again, you should be able to move 90 degrees sideways to be able to bring the club back down perpendicular. But you'll also notice at this position that when my club is pointing straight up to the sky, that my club path should be pointed straight down towards my target as well, okay? I get really sloppy in this in the spring, especially with all the new movement after taking the winter off. So again, make sure that that club, when it's parallel to the ground, club face is pointing straight up to the sky, and the club shaft is pointing straight down to your target. Here's a little hack that I have in my golf swing that I look at to really kind of help make sure that my club is set properly on my backswing. So the wrists have to hinge in your golf swing on the way back, and that's a great way in order to generate a lot of power in your golf swing. What a lot of people do is they don't hinge their wrists properly, and I'm in the same boat as well on my backswing. So there's a way to be able to check that. Have the club pointed straight out like we did in our posture video, making sure that the club is parallel to the ground. But in this case, instead of bringing it down to check for our posture, what I want you to do is take the club and I want you to try to point it straight up to the sky, right? My wrists are really inflexible after taking the winter off. And you notice that over the summer, I'll be able to get a little bit more wrist hinge. But for right now, have that club parallel to the ground, point it straight up to the sky, and then move it back into position, okay? That's the way that your wrists should be moving on your backswing. It's not any of these awkward ways that you see a lot of people, and myself included, come over the winter with. It's being able to have that club parallel, bend your wrist straight up, and then move it back to that position that we had when the club was parallel to the ground, okay? So again, in this position, you're really starting to now point your wrists straight up. You really need to have a wrist hinge in your golf swing in order to generate the maximum amount of power. And certainly I want to come out of the spring season with a lot of power in my golf game. So being able to have those wrists hinged properly, combine the two elements together. So club parallel to the ground, then hinge those wrists straight up. And again, a great little hack for that is have it right out in front of you, bend the wrists, put them back into position. And you'll notice that my club is hopefully on the correct plane for my body to really generate a lot of power in my golf swing.